Namaste. Jai Shivai. Today I'm going to discuss a long pending question that I got a few weeks ago about who can be a guru. Can anybody be a guru? So to understand the answer of this, we have to dig into details of what all kinds of students can be there. Because in theory, this is like asking, can anybody be a teacher? Yes, anybody who can do the teaching course and they can be a teacher then. Right? For children I am talking about. But then if you look into closer details, or if you see that not everybody actually is a very good teacher, right? So there are other aspects of someone's personality, we can say, okay, that we have to factor in. For example, not everybody has a very good patience for teaching children. Imagine there are 25 to 40 kids in a class and all of them are talking or doing something, not working, this, that, and so much of mess kids can actually make around. So then how do you decide whether somebody can be a teacher or not? So it takes a lot of digging, okay? We have to look into a lot of other details. So forget about teaching right now. For example, let's start with how many types of students can be there. That is the best way to understand who can or cannot be a guru, and who is and is not a guru for a particular person, right? You're asking this as a student. You're not trying to build some career into being a guru. So I'm answering it from the student's perspective, that we need to look into how many different kinds of students can be there. So the first level, or the category, or whatever you want to call it, let's call it first level of consciousness. Okay, where there are worldly people and they are busy with their mundane life. They are very busy in their jobs, in building wealth for themselves, fulfilling their desires. And their desires and their karma is often fueled by those 5 bad Chittah-Vrittis that we have got. So they have good enough moha, or you can say raga and dvesha. They have a lot of abhinivesha, fear of losing wealth, of losing the loved ones, of losing their face in front of the society. A lot of those things are, those kind of fears are there. Survival, fear of survival is ultimately there too, but at least nobody is, torturing anybody, let's say that. So that kind of fear is still less in a lot of worldly people, but still they will rather not put themselves into that kind of a situation, right? So that's the first level. The guru, spiritual guru, is not needed by those who are still very much involved into their worldly desires, into fulfilling their worldly desires. Most of the time they are the slave of their Chittah-Vrittis, their mental, emotional, psychological and behavioral patterns. They are just a slave. For a very less time, when, we can tell them to be conscious, and if they are conscious at that time, then some teaching can be given. Otherwise, karma is the biggest guru for them. Karma will come with its consequences. Good karma will bear good consequences, will bear good fruits in life. Bad karma will have bad fruits and bad consequences in life. So karma is the biggest guru for them, because they are so busy doing it. So busy creating new karma one after the other. And at max, such people need help from, what if I can go to this astrologer to fix something, and they look for fixes, and they look for amendments, they look for fixes, they look for improvements in life through external means. Some astrologer can tell them something, some local pandit can tell them, okay, go for this ritual, that puja, or some older grandparents in the house can tell them, okay, if you do this, this may benefit you in this way or that way. So they are looking for benefits through external means. And if these people can somehow access the spiritual gurus, still what are they going to ask for? They are only going to ask for desires or the things, external things that can make their life comfortable, okay, livable or comfortable. So those who are suffering from different kinds of diseases, or those who are suffering mentally, emotionally, they may go to all kinds of gurus or people. So there are gurus in the world, and gurus never mind catering to this level of consciousness, this level of people, but only so much can be done with them, right? You cannot make them start on their spiritual journey, no way. You cannot convince them that if you start removing the Chittah-Vrittis, or if you start taking 100% responsibility of life, or if you start living in this spiritual way or that way, then sooner or later there will be a lot of improvement in your life, in your conditions. The external condition in your life will change. All that kind of wisdom is not going to be grasped by these people. They are too busy riding that hamster wheel, and there is nothing wrong about it. Lot of kids, you cannot say that those who are studying in kindergarten it's something wrong with them. No, it's not. Okay, we allow, just like different levels of education are there, different level of age and IQ people are there in different kind of educational fields and levels. Exactly in the same way, if when people are, a lot of atmas, a lot of souls have been born just to, just to get things done through their karma, and that is all that they are going to understand at this point of time. So which is fine. Not all the lemons are going to be ripe on the lemon tree the same day, okay? They will take time, lifetimes after lifetimes, they will improve themselves, and they will be ultimately where a lot of, serious spiritual yogis are, or enlightened beings are. So everybody is going there. It's just that in this lifetime, that's their level, and that's their level of consciousness. Now, another level that this level of stuff, it can be a little bit raised if we try to figure out, okay, let's find out the little bit of different people in them. At least the people to whom we do not have to convince about that walking your spiritual journey is the ultimate way of living your life, or designing your destiny, or creating your own destiny, or, getting rid of all the suffering that you have got in life, and ultimately becoming a blissful person, joyful person. So that those kind of people start walking their spiritual journey. They at least start following yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. They are the beginner people. They are the starting people. So a lot of gurus exist. Those who help people start on their spiritual journey. And because this is their first lifetime starting with any kind of spiritual practice, it takes a lot of time. Okay, initially you see so many, just to be able to graduate in English literature or Hindi literature or any language for that matter, you see, so we have to study the language for at least 8 to 12 years before we can write a book into it, or before we can really read complex material, complex comprehension kind of a material. So it takes that much time. So exactly in the same way, those who are beginning on their path, their life is full of hurdles. Their spiritual journey is full of hurdles. It's like, you even for the music as well, just to learn the first note, it may take you 5-6 years to be able to train your listening, train your ears for being able to listen to a particular note in any and every kind of a musical instrument. It may take that much time, right? Tuning and toning your ears, your listening, the pitch in your ears, So you see, initial time period is always very difficult and it's a longer time duration. Yet a lot of gurus exist to help people at least start on their spiritual journey, at least start living consciously, so that they do not create bad karma for themselves. If somebody is not creating bad karma for themselves, that means there is a socially the conditions are good in any country, area or place or a society. So at least some livable conditions are good for other people as well, right? So a lot of people are able to start on their spiritual journey, and different kind of gurus exist to cater to this level. But in this level, a lot of mixture happens for people, those who now on the name of yoga are building their body, or their goal is well-being, or their goal is just whatever. So at this stage, when somebody is beginning their spiritual journey, goal actually does not matter for the time being. It's all like when you are in a kindergarten, or when you are studying in a nursery, or you are going to a play school, what you are going to be in future, whether you will be a doctor or a scientist, it really does not matter. Why? You have to learn all the basics no matter what. And basic level of math, basic level of English or Hindi or languages, basic level of science, everything will take at least 8 to 10 years. So there's no point in creating a very hefty goals for yourself, and goals actually do not matter. It's all about, okay, this is the prescribed practice for you, and let you do it. So a lot of people here are playing. Now, because it is easier, a lot of, you can say, on the name of gurus, people, those who cheat, or those who, they also belong to this level of consciousness, right? That they can fool you for anything, and this is this yoga and that yoga, and this is this or this is that. And often people get, tricked by, tricked on the name of bhakti. They are tricked on the name of yoga or guru or initiations or anything. But all that happens only at this level. And because the gurus have also come from this level only, right? The gurus who are catering to these two levels of people, these two levels of spiritual enthusiasts or the worldly people, they come from the world. They are walking their spiritual journey also. Those gurus, those teachers are also walking their spiritual journey. So when their journey is not complete, then that means they still have mental, emotional, psychological pattern. They still have the ego, which is going to come out from time to time. Okay? And if greed comes out, then they may end up taking a lot of money from you. If fear comes out and they feel fearful, what if I am not able to earn tomorrow? How about I earn a lot today itself? So that can happen. Any kind of psychological pattern, any kind of Chittah-Vritti can come out, and they can play by that. Similarly, how all the people are doing. Now, let's talk about another level, where people get serious enough, very serious enough in walking their spiritual journey. Okay? And that happens because of two reasons. In this lifetime, if somebody gets very serious enough, then it is happening because of two reasons. One reason is that they had a spiritual experience. Very sincere, very serious spiritual experience. Okay? And it could be samadhi of few moments. It could be meeting the God or the Creator for few moments. Or it could be extensive level of, whatever spiritual experiences of energy that they can have through their etheric body. So, the spiritual experiences, sudden spiritual experiences is one reason where somebody becomes very serious in walking their spiritual journey. Another reason is extensive suffering. A lot of suffering happens to somebody in this lifetime. Whatever karma, either it's their karma that they have done in the previous lifetime, because of which they are suffering, Or somebody created a good karma, but if somebody else gave them a karma, then they should be able to move from it if they get into, serious suffering and everything. But if it comes to the body, physical body, or if it comes very seriously to the mind, then at some level, dispassion happens. Dispassion means vairagya. So a lot of people realize that, no matter what I gather, no matter how much good of a job I have, there is still something within me which is empty. So they feel that burden of emptiness within. And that is when they start searching answers. So suffering and dispassion, suffering leads to dispassion. Okay? Consciously suffering, when you realize that there is no gain, this is not the way to live life, and dispassion happens as a result. Vairagya happens as a result. From the world, from the samsara, from the worldly people, from everything external. And that's when they turn inward and they start walking their spiritual journey. Okay? So to these people, those who had intense vairagya or intense dispassion, or those who had sudden spiritual experiences, to such people, these kind of people require an enlightened being, an enlightened guru, or a self-realized guru is required to cater or to understand or to lead them into a proper direction to these two kind of people. Those who have become vairagi, those who have become dispassionate, and those who have had sudden spiritual experience while they were living their life and they were fine, and some small thing happened or some heartbreak happened or something happened, and due to that they ended up having a spiritual experience, or some out of near death experience, you can call it, or something that tells them you are not this body. Okay? And there is more to creation, more to reality, and more to everything that exists. And it's life and everything. It's not just about me, my body, my thoughts, my mind, and my identity is nothing like that. Okay? So now, those who have become vairagi, they are good. They are the best candidates actually to be taught by enlightened or self-realized gurus. They are the best candidate. Why? They have understood the entire Maya matrix. So they are not very, very, very rarely such people have a downfall. Why? Because having vairagya or the dispassion is actually a requirement, main requirement to be a yogi, to be a disciple, to be a student. That's the first requirement and the most important requirement. To be taught by, to become a disciple, to be taught by an enlightened being or a spiritual or a self-realized guru, the main requirement is to be a vairagi, to be a dispassionate person. Okay? That is the thing. So these are the best category people. Now, these kind of students can either take official renunciation, that we call sannyasa, and they can join some ashram or some monastery. And I think I created a separate video about explaining about taking official renunciation and how it's easier to do it in India rather than doing it in America, because then it becomes sort of a contemporary sannyasa and not so much traditional one. And it really, ultimately, it matters for your growth, spiritual growth. You're trying to evolve quickly, let things be traditional, because they have been proven. It's a proven science since last 5,000-6,000 years. So we do not have to change a whole lot in that, and we can use the traditional mode of having sannyasa. So if somebody becomes an official renunciate or a sannyasi, then they have their own gurus. Sannyasis are not taught by, traditionally sannyasis are not taught or handled by the enlightened gurus or the self-realized gurus, those who have come themselves from the world or from the samsara. And not every Vairagi is going to take a sannyasa either. So, lot of those Vairagis, those who will still live in the world, still may have children, still may have a wife or a husband or a spouse, and may have a corporate job or whatever. But within their heart, they are already a yogi, they are already a sannyasi, they are already a Vairagi. So they don't go to that side of taking official renunciation. Not everybody needs to do that. So a lot of them, major percentage of them, do not take sannyasa, because when you turn into a Vairagi, when you are a dispassionate person, how does it matter where your body is? How does that matter whether you wear a particular kind of a uniform or you still live in the world and play by the rules of the world and live the mundane life, yet walk your spiritual journey within. The requirement for spiritual journey or the spiritual evolution is Vairagya, is dispassion. It's not sannyasa, not renunciation. A Vairagi or a dispassionate person is a renunciate within. He may own the entire world, nothing will own him or her. There's a big difference. While a lot of sannyasis or the official renunciates may yet have a Vairagya or may not have a Vairagya. So it will take them some time to cultivate the Vairagya if they do not have it. Or if being a Vairagi was not the reason for them to become a sannyasi in the first place, become an official renunciate in the first place. Okay, so it will take them some time. So this is what about Vairagis. So a lot of Vairagis come to spiritual gurus, are very happy to take the Vairagis at any point of time and start teaching them, start leading them towards the right path. And somehow, where those who become really a Vairagi from within, universe arranges them a teacher, a guru. They don't need to go find and work very hard in, digging out which guru should I go to, where should I go take this initiation, that initiation. No. Universe gives them everybody everything that is required on that journey. That's the beauty of becoming dispassionate. That's the beauty of having Vairagya within. That your external world changes. And you are given everything that is required for your journey. Everybody, those who will be able to help you on your spiritual journey. Okay, so that is all about people, those who come to from that category. And then those Vairagis, some are very serious Vairagis. This is not their first lifetime being a Vairagi. Like this was not the first lifetime me being a Vairagi in this lifetime, right? So they have already done a lot of spiritual practices in since many lifetimes, and they are, you can call them old souls or whatever, but they have a lot of life wisdom. They are born with all that. The level of consciousness that they have is already very expanded and higher. So those kind of people, they go through spiritual experiences, right? Their level of consciousness will come back to the level where they left off in their past lifetime, wherever their spiritual practices were left off, and whatever amount of consciousness, whatever level of consciousness that they achieved, that is where they will be baselined again in this lifetime. So they are going to have spiritual experiences. Now here comes a very interesting point, that there are two kinds of people. Those who are going to have spiritual experiences. And in order to understand this, if you have watched the Yoga Darshan application series on my English channel, then there is a video that talks about siddhis, supernatural powers from the Yoga Darshan. As it has been explained by Maharishi Patanjali. So he explains like there are two different paths of attaining supernatural powers. First is called as the path of very hard spiritual practice. Okay, that is done in last so many years since this creation started, a lot of people wanted supernatural powers for this reason, for that reason. And they did very harsh tapas. Tapas means spiritual practice, very strict spiritual practice, by standing on one leg and, by doing this, by doing that, or chanting God's name, chanting this mantra, that mantra. They just wanted to have spiritual, supernatural powers. This siddhi, that siddhi to, be able to mix all the 5 elements. And then because these people, they have also had the darshan, you can say darshan, or direct experience with the Creator. Like, for example, if I tell you, Ravan, right? The the Ramayana's character, the villain that we read about, it was Ravan, who actually did thousands and thousands of years of strict tapasya. And he called upon Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva came down to give him a boon. He said, okay, I do not want to die. So you see, he's a Rakshas, he's an Asur, and he's doing that serious mantra japas and practice and so much of harsh tapas he's doing, very harsh spiritual practices, very hard ones he's doing. And when he's meeting God, when he's meeting Shiva, what is he asking for? That he doesn't want to die. That right there shows the ignorance he's harboring. That he realizes his body is who he is. Very much body-bound consciousness. That he is asking to be immortal without realizing he already is. As an Atma, he already is immortal. But he thinks this body is him. So all his heads, 10 heads are him. So he is asking for the immortality that nobody should be able to kill, and he doesn't want to die. So fear of death, right? Fear of death and fear of dying and getting harmed from the body, and the ignorance that I will not exist if this body is killed, or if this body is gone, then I will not exist. So you see that kind of boon he is asking upon meeting Shiva. So Bhagwan or Paramatma or Brahma, all Paramatma, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, all kinds of Devis, Devatas, Shaktis will give darshan, will give a direct experience, not just to yogis and tapasvis, those who are going towards the path of ultimate freedom or mukti or moksha. They will give darshan even to the Rakshas or the Asuras or to any kind of being in this cosmos and having any kind of body, or as we call them, type of body, type of yoni. So Devi, Devta, Paramatma, Brahma, God, Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, different kinds of guru, this, that, everybody will appear due to the serious spiritual practice that one is doing. They will give darshan to them. So it's not just for the, not just for the yogis and sannyasis. It's also for the people, those who are doing a lot of tapasya for the siddhis and supernatural powers, or to ask some other desire, to get some boon that they have in their mind. So to get all that, people will do lots of tapasya. Now, when I said in this lifetime, lot of people will go through spiritual experiences, and if they ever had any kind of supernatural power, or if they ever did any kind of tapasya to get that supernatural power, they will be baselined again to that same level of consciousness. So a lot of people, but there's a big difference that I'm going to explain you, that such people, a lot of such people will actually, once they get to that level of consciousness, they will fail very quickly. By fail, falling, I mean that they will start the drama in the sansara, in the world, in a much more crazy way now. Why? They reached that level of consciousness, which looks like where they had samadhi experience. Yes, all the small momentary Sanyam samadhis that Patanjali explains are because of intense dharana, intense one-pointed focus on anything in this cosmos. Any Devi, Devta, Shakti, sun, moon, or galaxy, or stars, or anything that you want to. Okay? So those kind of small samadhis can be attained and achieved. And you can have the experience of Paramatma. And it will going to give you, because if any Shakti, any Devi, Devata, Shakti, Paramatma, God, Brahma, when they give you the darshan, when they give you the direct experience of their presence, it is going to result into a lot of bliss. So a lot of ananda will happen. Okay? But there was another way of attaining siddhis, as Patanjali explains in the Yoga Darshan. And that siddhis, those siddhis are called as Dhyanajanya Siddhi. Siddhis because of meditating. Siddhis because of walking your spiritual journeys. Siddhis because you were walking your spiritual journey seriously, so you removed your fears, you removed your ignorance, you removed your attachments, your raga, dvesha, the aversions, and you removed all your identities. And while doing all that, that is when you start having siddhis. Now we were talking about another level or category of students, remember? Where I said that one was Vairagi, the dispassionate kind of people, and another one, those who can be taught by enlightened beings or by the self-realized gurus, right? So another one was the spiritually experienced kind of people, where sudden spiritual experience had happened. But we divided the sudden spiritual experience kind of people into two categories. One, those who have reached that level of consciousness because of the harsh tapasya, intense dharana, or Sanyam kind of samadhi, not because they wanted to walk their spiritual journey and do Chittah-Vritti Nirodha. Now those people, those who get there due to attaining supernatural power, doing tapasya, a lot of people have done a lot of tapasya in their past lifetimes just to have supernatural power, just to have darshan of this God, this Shakti, that Shakti, to get this boon, that boon. A lot of people have done tapasya. So that means they reach there only on the basis of their dharana. They are not dhyanis. They may get into a Sanyam kind of samadhi, but there does not exist the level of purity that is required to become a dhyani, to become a meditator, to attain samadhi through meditation. That requires a certain level of purity. That requires removal of fear, abhinivesha, resistance to change. That requires removal of raga and dvesha, attachments and aversion. That requires removing your asmitas, the identities, to an extent possible. So such a person, those who in this lifetime, there are very few people, those who reached the level of consciousness or the spiritual experience that they had due to their previous lifetime tapasya, then that previous lifetime tapasya, it was actually a dhyanajanya tapasya. It was a meditative path. They were doing the Chittah-Vritti Nirodha. That Patanjali explains. They were not doing the tapasya for meeting different kinds of God or Paramatma, or to attain this boon, this Shakti, that Shakti, this supernatural power or that supernatural powers. So that is a major difference between these two kind of people. Now, spiritual gurus or the, enlightened beings or the self-realized being, is very easy for them to see. A lot of people, let me give you my example, okay? So a lot of people come to me, those who have had spiritual experience where they had samadhi, a small samadhi here and there, and then they experienced a lot of ananda, bliss. afterwards. But then that's it. Very soon they fell from that place because in the first place they did not reach that level of consciousness organically by improving upon themselves. They reached that place because it was their desire to fulfill some other intention, some other wish that they had. So that means they still have the fear of losing the body, of losing anything else, losing the wealth. They are still full of all lower Chittah-Vrittis, all the 5 bad Chittah-Vrittis. They are still full of that. So that means such spiritually experienced people are going to come back down to the level 1 where you see the sansari people are there. The difference between them, those who have come down because of their spiritual practice or spiritual experience, yet they came down to the level of the worldly people. The difference between normal, innocent, worldly people and these people is that these people, those who have come down after attaining a siddhi, they have a lot of spiritual ego that you can call. It's very clearly visible. Oh, I met Paramatma. Yes, Paramatma or God will meet any Rakshas too. What's such a great deal about it? Until you have met Paramatma by purifying yourself, by removing the Chittah-Vrittis from your existence, by purifying your entire existence, until you have reached that place, you are not going to be able to stay at that level of consciousness. You will fall down. Real bad. Paramatma, all the Devi Devatas, Shaktis, they will give darshan to Rakshas, Asur, Nagalok people, this, that, anybody, any being. They don't differentiate. But was there, when they were giving you darshan, what were you asking for? Did you ask for moksha? Did you ask for mukti? What did you ask for? You were fearful. So your desires, your boon that you wanted to ask for, your supernatural power that you wanted to ask for is going to be something very childish, very foolish. That does not work. It didn't work for Ravan. It didn't work for anybody. If you pick up the history. And that's the reason the ultimate goal that Maharishi Patanjali describes in Yoga Darshan application, ultimate goal of walking the spiritual journey is not meeting Paramatma. He could have written that, but he did not. Right? Chittah-Vritti Nirodha is the ultimate goal. That is what he ends up explaining. That is what the whole Yoga Darshan is about. It's not about meeting Paramatma just because you wanted some boon or some supernatural power, or you had some crazy intention in your head because of your ignorance and you wanted to fulfill it. So a lot of such people, those who have had spiritual experiences, they have lot of ego in them, lot of fear in them, lot of raga, very, very strong moha and raga with the body. They wanted supernatural powers because they felt this entire universe is not such a safe place. Right? Instead of improving upon their karma, instead of increasing the level of buddhi, intellect that they have got, instead of purifying the intellect, instead of raising sattva in them, they ended up asking for a very fearful boon or the supernatural power that is fear, fueled by the fear. So your intentions, your desires are fueled by raga, dvesha, moha, or you can say vengeance, or you can say krodha, or because of the fears that you have got. So such people will fail. They are of no use. If they truly want to stand and stay at that level of consciousness, then they have to come back organically. They cannot think this was the shortcut. No, nothing, no shortcut has happened. Okay? There is no shortcut to spiritual journey, walking your spiritual journey. There is no shortcut to raising your level of, expanding your level of consciousness. There is no shortcut to purify your intellect and have sattva in it. Okay? So such people waste a lot of time, those who are going to fall down ultimately or have attained that, had that spiritual experience because of their harsh spiritual practice, or you can say some worldly desire or fear driven, or some sort of attachment or aversion driven, vengeance driven kind of spiritual practice. That was the purpose, intention behind doing it. So such people waste a lot of time, and it's very hard to explain them that you have done tapasya and it's not a big deal, but you did it for a wrong reason now if you really want to stay at that level. But it's hard. It's hard because they are not conscious all the time at all. They are like those worldly people, those who are not conscious at all. And rarely when they are, you can explain them what is good for you, or why a spiritual journey is good for you, or you need to walk that, or you can do some sort of intellectual reasoning with them. That can only be done when they are conscious, otherwise they are not conscious, and they just waste time. So a lot of people, those who have spiritual experience, they just think of themselves as very special people, very chosen kind of a people, and it's happening around the world. And such people waste a lot of time for all this enlightened beings and gurus. It's easier to deal with somebody who is at the level of who knows they are ignorant. Okay, and then they don't know anything about it, and it's the vairagya, dispassion has happened to them, and they are able to walk their spiritual journey. It's easier to give them Deekshas and help them follow the spiritual path. But to these people, those who have had spiritual experience and yet they are down at the level of worldly people, they're the worst people to deal with. It's not going to feel nice. I know it doesn't sound very nice, but that's the reality. You cannot explain them anything that's full of jnana, that's full of wisdom. Cannot explain them. It's easier to explain them the other worldly people. But here it's a very different thing. So then, spiritual gurus, those who are enlightened beings, those who are self-realized beings, they have so many people at that level, third level that we talked about, where there is a level of vairagi. Only those who are vairagis will stay with the guru for their lifetime and many lifetimes to come. If vairagya has happened and you have got a guru, that's it, you're done. Your search for guru ends right there. Whatever you will learn will have to come from the guru from time to time. When you are ready, the wisdom will appear. When you are ready, initiation will appear. When your guru will tell you. It's like you and guru are bonded together. Somehow, some chain, some golden bond starts existing between the guru and the vairagi. And they are the two true disciples actually. And they are the disciples for lifetime. They do not need any other guru. Whatever they need from the universe, it will be provided. Whatever they need in terms of walking their spiritual journey, everything will be given to them. And if the vairagya or the dispassion is the truth within you, guru finds you. You do not find a guru. So who is in search of the gurus? Those who have had spiritual experiences, yet it was because of some other desire and not because of walking the spiritual journey properly, removing or purifying yourself. No. So those kind of people look for gurus. They do guru shopping. And worldly people, or people, those who are going by different kinds of theories and lineages, they will say, okay, this theory I like. Some people still stay very distracted by the fact that, okay, I am bhakti person, I need bhakti guru. I am gyan person and I need gyan guru. I am a Kriya Yoga person, so I need Kriya Yoga guru. No, you don't need that. It's just that ultimately all techniques, all spiritual practices will lead you to, we are trying hard to put you into the surrender. Okay, not surrender to somebody, not to the guru, not to the God, nobody. Just the surrender, complete surrender to your own journey. It's your own commitment. The surrender to yourself, nobody else. Okay, surrender again, it's not a very good word, but that is the only word available in English. The correct Hindi word is samarpan. So we are trying to put you in samarpan. Okay, or you can say surrender. But that happens only because of true devotion, bhakti. But bhakti is not complete until unless you have the Sampurna Gyan or wisdom. So wisdom completes the bhakti. Bhakti completes the surrender. Or you can say sattva in the intellect or buddhi. Or you can say sattva, increased amount of sattva in your existence will lead to pure wisdom. Or will lead to wisdom. Wisdom will lead to bhakti, true devotion. And bhakti or true devotion will lead you to samarpan. And that samarpan, that surrender will lead you to samadhi, enlightenment, self-realization. This is the chain. This is the path. That is how it works. Okay? So, self-realized gurus are required, or enlightened beings are required to vairagis. For vairagis, those who are first time developing the vairagya in this lifetime, and they are also required by the, what do you call that? People, those who have had genuine spiritual experiences because of the past life spiritual journey that they were walking, genuine spiritual journey for removing and purifying themselves. So, those kind of people require, but there are very few enlightened beings, very few self-realized beings. But not to say that it doesn't work by that kind of statistics. There's no mathematical calculation as to when people try to think of, okay, how many doctors should be there, right? Per population, for the population, like per capita, the kind of a thing. How many doctors are required? How many engineers are required? We cannot make that kind of a calculation for gurus, spiritual gurus. Why? Because only very few genuine ones exist in this lifetime. In my lifetime. Okay, I can say for next 30 years, very few serious ones exist. And universe always makes sure that those genuine ones get the guru, no matter what. Or if they do not need the guru, then that's because their own guru chakra has flowered within. Their own pragya has become the Ritambara pragya. So they do not need any external guru. They can walk their journey on the basis of their previous gurus, whatever gyan or shakti was provided to them, they can walk their journey accordingly, or they can get the whatever is required, rest of the remaining knowledge or remaining wisdom, everything will be provided to them by the universe. So they do not need the guru at all. In this lifetime, a lot of self-realized beings exist, those who didn't have any human guru in this lifetime, because they themselves were holding that much of purity within, where gyan happens to them directly. So that's the thing. So now it's about who can be a guru, who cannot be a guru. Again, anybody can be a guru in theory, but who can be a guru for whom? That's the question. That's the thing to understand. Not everybody can be a guru for anybody and everybody. Those who cannot lead people to samadhi, or you can say self-realized being or enlightened beings, are those PhD scientists who can lead PhD scholars. And at the level of kindergarten or 5th grade teaching or 7th grade teaching, a lot of people can actually serve that role. A lot of people can fulfill that requirement, right? A lot of people can be. So a guru can be a male or a female or just in any kind of a body. May exist, may not exist. It's all about what level of student you are. What level of disciple you are. That kind of a guru you are 100% getting. No, do not doubt that. Whichever level you are in your spiritual journey, you are getting that kind of a guru. So I hope this helps you understand who can or cannot be a guru, and who can or cannot be a disciple or a student in the first place, and what kind of a student or disciple one is. So hope this explains. Namaste. Jai Shivaya.